is Rebecca Newkirk, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And today I wanted to talk about boundaries, but not just run-of-the-mill boundaries, although those are pretty interesting too, and I do like to talk about those. But I have been talking to a lot of people in a lot of sessions about boundaries with usually parents, but that one person in your life who just is like seemingly resilient to the boundary setting, where it doesn't really feel like it matters what you say or how you say it. They just really don't hear you, and then you end up having to give in anyway. I specialize in working with people who have complex trauma, and complex trauma, which we can talk about in more depth in another day, but complex trauma often comes from relational trauma in our upbringings. So what that means is that often our caregivers are not the most healthy humans in the whole world. And that means that I also work with a lot of people who have a parent or a caregiver who I would say has like narcissistic tendencies or is on like a personality disorder spectrum-y space. And what that means is that they really are immune to trying to be understanding of other people's perspectives, and often are very like hardline and dig their heels into whatever they think the best thing is. And that can be really hard. It's particularly hard for the children that they raised to, to try and do differently or have a different kind of relational experience with them, even when they're adults. I'm sure many of you have had the experience of talking to a parent. It's like you grow up and you move out and you have all of these other relationships and they go so much better, and you have a lot more confidence and a lot more skills, and like your communication style like really increases in efficacy, and you feel better and all of those things. And then you sort of like go back to talking to your parent, because many of us have decided not to go no contact. There's nothing wrong with going no contact. It's just not the choice that everybody makes. And when you're interacting with that parent again, you sort of like get triggered back into feeling like you did when you were little. It brings all of those same feelings up. You're primed by the relationship, by the circumstances, by the whatever. There are lots and lots of reasons for that. Again, we can talk about that in another moment. But what I find people often try to do is they want, especially because we're also often talking about parents, right? It is the human experience. We want to be seen. We want to be understood. We want people to get it. And particularly, I think our parents, we are like sort of genetically and evolutionarily set up to want our parents to understand us, to see us, to get why we're doing things, to feel like it is an acceptable way to respond, or way to be or believe or act or whatever the thing is. And so that puts us in this like really disempowered position of trying to justify our position or trying to justify our decision to our parent. And remember, we're talking today about parents who are like somewhat narcissistic, who may be personality disordered, who like frankly are just not going to get it. And so what I ask people to do, number one, and this is like in the setup, I'm going to give you steps. I'm going to talk to you about like what I want you to do and how I want you to approach these types of boundary setting conversations. But before we even get to that, I really want you to hear that I want you to be able to notice when you are trying to justify your position to the person that you're trying to do the boundary with. You want them to understand they just don't get where you're coming from. They believe that that's the wrong thing. They think that you're being selfish, what have you. That's none of your concern, right? If you find yourself in a position of trying to get them to get it, you're trying to justify why the decision that you're making is the right thing. You want them to agree to the position that you're taking. If you find yourself in any of those spaces, you've already lost. The conversation's gone. We're already going off the deep end, like we're going in a weird direction, and we're on the back foot. This is not going to be an empowering, boundary setting type conversation anymore. And so if you find yourself trying to justify, trying to get them to get it, trying to help them understand, and frankly, if the conversation lasts longer than, 5 minutes, certainly 10 minutes, we're already going, way too long, and we've probably gone in too many directions, and it's not doing what we needed to do. So what is it that we are actually trying to do? I will tell you. If we're trying, so I've seen it circulating social media, and I actually feel like it circulates every so often. I feel like it's really helpful, actually. It talks about how a boundary is not a boundary unless if they don't do the thing or show up in the way or stop doing the thing, you have something that you're going to do to protect yourself, right? So it's not just a boundary to say, I don't like that, or I need you to stop, right? That's only half of the boundary. The other half of the boundary is, what are you going to do if they don't stop? Because ultimately you do not have control or power over what they decide to do with what you have communicated, right? Then we're getting back into the frame of like, I need you to understand, I need you to get it. Since I have said that I don't like this, and ostensibly you care about me, your child, then it should matter to you that I'm saying that I don't like it and you should stop, right? That makes sense. I get it. I get where you're coming from. I understand why you want that. It is not going to work. Like, we need to go into these conversations, particularly with really challenging relationships, which often are parental relationships, at least for the people that I work with, right? We need to go into the conversation assuming that they're not going to get it, that you just saying that you don't like something is not going to be enough for them to change their behavior, that they may not in fact be capable of changing their behavior. And so when we're talking about boundaries in these ways, what we're saying is not only, I don't like this, you can, please don't, but also if you continue to, then I'm going to fill in the blank, right? So the first thing, let's say that we're on the phone with you could tell that's my age. Let's say that we are on the phone with whomever, with mom, and mom starts giving you advice again, unsolicited advice, or being critical, or telling you her opinions on something. And you say, hey mom, I really need you to stop. I don't want to have this conversation if you're going to continue to be critical or give me advice. I'm not asking for that. And then mom says, well, I'm just trying to help, and I don't understand why you're so sensitive or whatever. Okay, so you said it the one time. That's step one. You said, I don't want to have this conversation if you're going to continue to give me advice. That's not what I'm looking for. Please stop. Great. We expect that mom, in this case, is going to continue to tell you why you're wrong for wanting her to do it differently or wanting her to stop the thing. That's what she just did. I don't understand why you're so sensitive. This is not a big deal. I'm just trying to help, whatever. Then you're going to say it again. I hear you. Thank you for, this depends on what kind of relationship you have, or if you want to continue it to have a close relationship, but some version of I hear you. And thank you for trying to help or loving me or whatever. I don't want to have this conversation if you're going to continue to be critical or give me advice. So I'm happy to talk about something else if you want to stay on the phone. But if you continue to give me advice or be critical, I'm going to have to hang up the phone, and then we'll talk some other time. And then, oh, so you're going to hang up on me. Then we're probably, we just upped the ante. So that's step two. Step one, we said it. Please stop. I don't want to receive criticism right now. Step two, if you continue to give me criticism or be giving me advice or whatever the thing is that they're doing that you don't want them to do, this is what I'm going to do. So that's the second half of the boundary. I'm going to hang up the phone. And then usually when I say this to people, they start saying, oh, I would not hang up the phone. I'm like, can you imagine what I'm going to have to deal with? Next time I talk to my mom, if I hang up the phone on my mom, I hear you. I really, really hear you. But what we're talking about is you communicated a boundary. We're doing vulnerability and boundarying simultaneously, right? I love you. I appreciate that you are trying to help. Thank you so much for wanting, whatever. I love you. And I'm not going to put up with this, right? So I'm going to hang up the phone. And then when they I can't believe you're going to, you would hang up just for me trying to help you or whatever version. And then they do another critical statement. You say, okay, I'm going to hang up the phone now. I love you and I will talk to you later. And then guess what? You hang up the phone. You hang it up. Just put it down. And then we have the holding of the boundary, right? Which is mom is, depending on the person that we're talking to and the type of behaviors that they escalate, They may call over and over and over again, send you like a deluge of like text messages. They may actually give you the silent treatment and not talk to you for a while. This is like a range of experiences that people will have depending on the like personality profile things that we're dealing with the parent. Usually parent, sometimes it might not be. And what we're just gonna do is like either you can send one text message that says, hey, like, I love you, I'll talk to you some other time. It might be helpful to actually give them a date and a time that you're going to talk to them. And I'm gonna do a side, thing on this in just a second. But what we are trying to do, again, it's step one, say the thing that's not acceptable. Please stop criticizing me. I don't like it. And then they like are reactive to that. Step two, if you continue to criticize me, I'm going to have to hang up the phone. Can you talk about something else? Because I'm happy to talk about something else. And then they don't, right? And then they're going to push the boundaries. Honestly, this is very similar to boundary setting with small children. So they're going to push the boundaries, and then you're going to say, okay, I see that you can't talk about something else right now, or that you're not able to stop. Thank you for, trying to help. I'm going to hang up the phone and I'll talk to you some other time. Then we hang up the phone. That's step one, step two, step three. That's it, right? So if you want to, right, you can send one text message that is a reiteration of step three. I'm not available to talk right now. I'm happy to talk to, I'm looking forward to talking to you at this other time that we normally talk. I hope you have a good day /week /whatever. This is absolutely going to upset your parent. We're not talking about like, hey, how can I do boundary setting in a way that like they're okay with, or they feel comfortable with, or like doesn't upset them. This is another thing that I hear a lot of the time. Our goal is not to not upset people. You're gonna have to, especially when we're talking about this profile of behaviors and dynamics, and we're talking about people who are like truly like somewhat narcissistic. It's a wound, right? We talk about like the narcissistic wound. They're not doing it on purpose. They're not trying to be manipulative. They're not like trying to hurt you or whatever, but they're not, frankly, mature enough. I mean, they're too wounded. Like they're still behaving from their woundedness. They didn't do the work, right? And you know that already because you've seen them not go to therapy or bounce out of therapy, or tell you that like you're actually the problem, or not take responsibility for a damn thing in their whole life or in your whole life, certainly, right? So like they're behaving from like a self-centered or narcissistic woundedness, right? And that is upsetting. It does not feel good to walk around and make choices and behaviors from that narcissistic place. We're looking at probably your parent has some sort of attachment wound. We can talk about that in another moment. But we can't expect that they're going to be able to hear a boundary that feels bad, right? It feels critical. It feels like separation or distance. It might feel to them like abandonment. They may experience it like all sorts of negative things. Your job is not to protect them. I mean, yeah, I know you probably have been doing that your whole life. Your job is not to protect them from the consequences of like their inability to maintain, right? Or the consequences of the damage that they've done to the relationship, or the consequences of them not being able to hold themselves together in conversation with you while respecting your boundaries. The consequences that they get upset, they're going to act that consequence out at you, on you, and you're just not going to let them. That's part of holding the boundary. That's why we hang up the phone. Now, let's say that you're in person. It's trickier, right? It's just a lot harder. It's not impossible though, right? Let's say that you're in their house, you're staying in their house even like for a visit, and we have one of these things. Step one, I need you to stop criticizing. They got upset, they escalate, tell you that you're being too sensitive. Step two, if you continue like to do this in this conversation, I'm going to end it. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go get coffee. I'm going to go to my room and read for a while. And I'll be happy to talk to you in some other moment. Step three, okay, I can see that you're not able to stop right now. It's not blaming language. It's not demonizing language. We're not saying that they're bad people. We are identifying, honestly, a neutral observation, which is that they cannot seem to stop in that moment. You have communicated what you need them to do and what you need them to not do, and they cannot not do it. That is a neutral observation. And then you're going to follow through. You're going to go to your room and close the door. If they are like really overbearing and they come to the door and they're banging on the door, okay, then you're going to leave the house, you're going to go on a walk, you're going to go to a coffee shop if it's like super duper hot, which it kind of fucking is right now. Whatever the thing, right? You're going to remove yourself. And then this is the part where people get really overwhelmed. It's like, okay, but what happens when I come back? Like, that's going to be real messy. What we're looking at here is if we're assuming, and I do assume that like the reason that in this case, the parent, the mom usually is behaving this way is because they have an attachment wound. It is going to be helpful to your parent or to this person, and therefore your relationship with them, to communicate that you're going to come back, when you're going to come back, and that you still care about them, which is very likely true, right? And that's why when we're doing the third step, we're saying, I'll see you, if you're gonna leave the house, I'll see you in a couple hours for dinner, and I look forward to that. So we're not punishing, we're not withdrawing affection that actually causes the attachment issues that are creating the woundedness that's causing the behavior, right? We're not going to feed into that. We're actually doing something that, in my opinion, is potentially like healing and or helpful for your parent, and therefore your relationship with your parent, and certainly for you, which is when you come back, we're just not addressing it. The thing was addressed already. It was handled. This is not one of those spaces where it's like, oh, so we're just going to sweep it under the rug and we're going to pretend the thing didn't happen. This wasn't a big thing. This was me identifying what is and is not acceptable to me, and then letting you know what was going to happen if you continued. What was going to happen is I was going to leave. That doesn't mean we don't have a relationship. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. You can expect and plan to see me in a moment, when I tell, in 2 hours or the next day or in a week or whatever the thing is. And I'm going to be like pretty neutral, pleasant, right? And my expectation is that the person, your mom in this case, mom is going to be cold, withdrawn, passive aggressive, some version of like, oh, you decided to come back. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just like, yep. How are you? How was your day? What else did you do? Right? And then you're starting a different conversation. Because what we're trying to do is create a new dynamic, a new expectation that when you set a boundary, that boundary is going to be upheld, and it does not depend on mom or whomever, this person, agreeing with, or you having adequately justified your position and why you're handling things that way. And so this is my quick 1-2. I feel like I talk about this like many times a week, probably every single week. This is like one of the things that comes up quite often, at least with the people that I work with. I'm super curious to hear your perspectives. If you've tried it, where you go off the rails, oftentimes people will say like, okay, I did step 1 and then it went weird and I tried to justify. Okay, I just want to know, did you try it? Where did it go off the rails? What happened that got you off the rails? These are the questions that we're needing to ask to try and figure out what's going on. But I'm telling you, this is the thing, this is the way, this is how we can do it. I talk to so many people who say things like, I don't want to go no contact, but man, this is so not working for me. And I want to have a relationship. I just need the relationship to feel not like this. And they feel really hopeless about it because they've tried a lot of times. And oftentimes they'll say things like, I've gone no contact for a while, but I missed them. I came back. There were reasons, and that's just it's not possible for me. It's not going to work for me. And so here I am, and I feel stuck and I feel trapped, and I just don't feel like it's ever going to change. It can be different. It does not depend on your parent to be able to do it differently. It depends on you showing up differently. This is about you showing up differently, not them getting it or understanding it or behaving differently. You're showing what you're going to put up with. So before I talk myself in circles and therefore talk us in circles, I'm going to go ahead and end here. And I'll talk to everybody soon.